Rome was not yet an empire. It was a republic, a dream of citizen rule, of law over kings. But dreams rot when ambition breeds, and blood waters the soil of power. By the 1st century BC, the Roman Republic was crumbling. Generals commanded private armies, senators bought votes with grain and gold, and the people, they cried out for a savior, not a king, but a man strong enough to save Rome from itself. Into this chaos stepped Gaius Julius Caesar, a man who would not only reshape Rome, he would become its god. Born in 100 BC into the ancient Julii clan, descendants, they claimed, of Venus herself, Julius Caesar grew up in the Subura, Rome's most dangerous slum. While patrician boys wore purple and studied rhetoric, young Caesar walked among butchers, thieves, and freedmen, learning the language of the street. He was handsome, charming, and dangerously intelligent. At 18, he narrowly escaped execution by the dictator Sulla, who said, "In that boy there are many Mariuses," a reference to his populist uncle, Sulla's greatest enemy. Caesar chose exile, then returned. He studied in Rhodes, was kidnapped by pirates, and promised to crucify them. When freed, he raised a fleet, captured them, and, true to his word, had them crucified. But first, he mercifully slit their throats, out of respect for their kindness during his captivity. By 60 BC, Caesar was back in Rome, broke, brilliant, and burning with ambition. He formed the first triumvirate with Pompey the Great and Crassus, Rome's richest man. Together they ruled behind the scenes, while the Senate pretended to govern. But Caesar wanted more than shadows. He wanted glory. So he took the governorship of Gaul, a land of wild forests, savage tribes, and untold riches, and with it an army loyal only to him. For 8 years, Caesar waged war in Gaul, modern France, Belgium, even reaching the shores of Britain. He faced 3 million warriors, according to his own writings. He defeated the Helvetii, crushed the Nervii, and finally cornered Vercingetorix, the last great Gallic chieftain, at Alesia. There he built dual walls, one to keep Vercingetorix in, another to keep 250,000 Gallic reinforcements out. It was engineering genius and ruthless strategy. When Vercingetorix surrendered on horseback, in full armor, laying his weapons at Caesar's feet, Rome erupted in awe. Caesar had added an entire continent to the Republic. His soldiers adored him. His name echoed from Spain to Syria. But in Rome, fear grew. The Senate ordered him, "Lay down your command, return as a private citizen," meaning face prosecution for breaking laws during his rise. Pompey, once his ally, now his rival, stood with the Senate. The stage was set. On January 10th, 49 BC, Caesar stood on the banks of the Rubicon River, the boundary between his province and Italy. To cross it with an army was treason. Death awaited. He paused, then spoke words that would echo for eternity. "Alea iacta est." The die is cast. And he marched on Rome. Caesar didn't burn Rome, he reformed it. He pardoned enemies, rebuilt cities, gave land to veterans. He reorganized the calendar, creating the Julian calendar, still the basis of ours today. He granted citizenship to Gauls and Spaniards, declaring, "Rome is not just a city, it is a world." But power isolates. He was named Dictator for life, a title that sounded too much like king in a land that hated monarchy. He sat on a golden throne, accepted statues beside gods. At the Lupercalia festival, Mark Antony offered him a crown, and though he refused it, the crowd's silence spoke louder than cheers. In the Senate, whispers turned to plans. He must die for liberty to live. 40 senators joined the conspiracy. Its leader, Marcus Junius Brutus, a man Caesar called "like a son to me." March 15th, 44 BC. The Senate met in the theater of Pompey. Caesar arrived late, dismissive of warnings, even a note naming all the conspirators, which he never read. As he took his seat, the senators surrounded him not to honor but to kill. Casca struck first. Caesar turned. "Accursed Casca, what dost thou?" Then they came, 23 wounds. When he saw Brutus among them, he pulled his toga over his face and fell silent. His last words? Possibly. "Et tu, Brute?" "You too, Brutus?" The assassins raised their bloody daggers, crying, "Liberty! Freedom!" But the people did not cheer. They mourned. Caesar's body lay in the Forum for hours until Mark Antony gave his funeral oration, revealing Caesar's will. He left 75 drachmas to every Roman citizen, and his gardens to the people forever. Rome erupted in rage. The conspirators fled, and a new war began, not of armies but of legacy. Caesar never ruled as emperor, but his heir, his adopted son Octavian, would become Augustus, Rome's first emperor, and build an empire that lasted 500 years. Within months of his death, the Senate declared Caesar Divus Julius, the divine Julius. Temples were built, priests appointed. Coins bore his face with a star above his head, the Caesar's comet, said to carry his soul to heaven. He became more than a man. He became Rome's first god. His name, Caesar, became a title, Kaiser in Germany, Tsar in Russia. His reforms shaped law, language, and governance for millennia, and his story became the eternal warning and promise of power. Julius Caesar did not seek to destroy the Republic. He tried to save it by becoming greater than it, and in doing so, he gave Rome an empire and the world a legend that would never die. If you were moved by the life of the man who turned betrayal into immortality, subscribe to His Talks AI, where history doesn't just repeat, it echoes through eternity.